Hello friends, my name is Ankit. I make educational videos on US healthcare. I'm back with another video on clinical data exchange. This is part one of the series to explain the in-depth steps to perform the clinical data exchange. There are multiple steps involved in determining how to perform the clinical data exchange. The first step is assessing your environment. In this blog, we will delve into the practical implementation steps and considerations for achieving clinical data exchange using FHIR. This guide aims to help healthcare organizations, developers, and IT professionals successfully implement FHIR-based solutions for improved interoperability and data sharing. Before embarking on a fire interoperability project, a thorough assessment of your healthcare environment is essential. This step helps in understanding the existing infrastructure, stakeholders, and data landscape. Here are the key considerations for this assessment. Identify your stakeholders. Identifying the key stakeholders which are involved in the clinical data exchange using FHIR is key to the success. There could be different type of stakeholders who could be involved in the clinical data exchange. Healthcare providers. It includes the hospitals, clinics, physicians, nurses, and other care providers. Payers. These are health insurance companies and government payers involved in the healthcare reimbursement. Patients. The individual who are the subject of healthcare data and have a vested interest in data access and privacy. And finally, the third party applications. These are external application and software systems that need access to healthcare data, such as telemedicine platform or healthcare monitoring apps. Understanding the need and priorities of these stakeholders is crucial for aligning your FHIR implementation with their requirements. Now, the next step of the process is assessing the existing system. Evaluate your existing healthcare IT system to determine their FHIR readiness and compatibility. The key systems to consider include electronic health records, assess whether your EHR system supports FHIR and if they can expose patient data in FHIR format. Health information exchanges or HIEs. Is your organization using HIEs? Evaluate their FHIR capabilities and readiness for data exchange. Data sources. Identify other data sources within your healthcare core system, such as laboratory information system, radiology system, and pharmacy systems, and assess their readiness for FHIR integration. And finally, legacy system. Consider legacy system that may not natively support FHIR and evaluate the effort required to integrate them with FHIR-based solutions. The next step of the process is performing data mapping and determining the inventory. Create an inventory of type of data you need to exchange using FHIR. This includes patient demographic. Understanding the patient demographic data required for proper identification and record linkages is critical. Next step is the clinical record determination. Identifying the type of clinical record such as progress notes, lab results, radiology reports, and medication histories that you need to exchange. The next step is imaging in data, assessing the need for exchanging medical images and consider how FHIR's DICOM integration can be applied. Specialized data. Depending on your use case, identify any specialized data such as genomics data or data related to specific medical specialties, for example, cardiology or oncology. They may require special handling. Finally, terminology and codes. Ensure that the terminologies and code used for exchange align with industry standards such as SNOMED, LOINC, or RxNorm. The next step of the process is identifying the regulatory and privacy compliance requirement. Ensure that your data exchange efforts comply with relevant healthcare regulations such as HIPAA, GDPR, local privacy laws. Be aware of any local privacy laws that will impact based on your organization's location. Develop governance policies for consent management and data security to ensure that the patient data is handled in compliance with these regulations. The next step is determining the infrastructure and resources. Assess your IT infrastructure, including server capacity, network bandwidth, and storage capabilities to accommodate the increased data exchange associated with FHIR. Ensure that you have the necessary human resources, including skilled developer and IT staff, to support the implementation and ongoing maintenance of a FHIR-based system. Prioritize your use cases. Prioritizing the use case that will benefit most from FHIR implementation. Start with the use cases that have the greatest potential for improving patient care, streamlining workflow, or enhancing interoperability. This ensures that your implementation effort have a meaningful impact from the outset. Engage your stakeholders. Engaging with stakeholders, including healthcare providers and patients, to gather input and requirement. Their feedback is invaluable in shaping the FHIR implementation strategy and ensuring that it aligns with the need of those who will use and benefit from it. In summary, assessing your healthcare environment is a foundational step in planning for clinical data exchange via FHIR. It sets the stage for a well-informed implementation strategy and helps identify potential challenges and opportunities in leveraging FHIR for improved interoperability and data sharing within your healthcare organization. Expand your use case definition on need basis. A use case is a specific practical scenario or situation in which FHIR will be used to exchange clinical data. Defining use case involves identifying scenarios. Identify the scenarios or processes where clinical data exchange is necessary. These scenarios could include patient data access, care coordination, telemedicine, public health reporting, research collaboration, and more. Mapping workflows. Map out the workflows for each use case, specifying how and when clinical data needs to be exchanged. Understand the sequence of actions, the stakeholders involved, and data elements required for each scenario. User stories. Develop user stories that describe the roles and responsibility of different stakeholders. For example, clinicians, patients, or administrators. Within each use case, user stories help capture the practical aspects of data exchange from end-to-end user perspective. Data requirements. Clearly articulate the type of clinical data needed for that use case. For example, a telemedicine use case might require access to patient demographics, medical history, and recent vital signs. Prioritization. Prioritize your use case based on their impact on patient care workflow efficiency, regulatory compliance, and strategic alignment with organization goals. Define the objective definition. Once use cases are defined, set clear objective for each use case. Objectives should be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Here is how to establish objectives. Specify. Clearly define and specify objectives for each use case. For example, an objective could be to help reduce the time required to access patient data during telemedicine consultation by 30%. Measurable. Establish key performance indicators or KPIs or metrics to measure the success of each use case. In the telemedicine example, the KPI might be the average time to access patient data before and after FHIR implementation. Achievable. Ensure that objectives are realistic and attainable within the given constraints, including the resources and timelines. Relevant. Objectives should directly relate to the use case and its impact on patient care, on operational efficiency, or strategic goals. Time bound. Set a time bound for achieving each objective. This creates a sense of urgency and accountability. Now select the FHIR profiles and resources to proceed with your FHIR implementation. Selecting the appropriate FHIR profile and resource is a crucial step in designing a successful clinical data exchange solution using FHIR. These profiles and resources define how data is structured and constrained, ensuring that it aligns with the specific need of your use case. A more in-depth exploration of this topic is mentioned in the follow-up slides. Understanding the FHIR profile. FHIR profiles are formal definitions that defines how FHIR resources should be structured and which elements are required, optional, or repeatable. Profiles are essential for ensuring consistency and interoperability in FHIR implementations. When selecting FHIR profiles, evaluate existing profiles. Start by exploring existing FHIR profiles. The FHIR community and organizations often develop profiles for common clinical scenarios and data type. Leveraging existing profile can save time and effort. Custom profiles. If existing profiles do not precisely match your use case or data requirement, consider creating custom profiles. Custom profiles allows you to tailor FHIR resources to your specific needs. Consistency. Ensure that selected profile maintains consistency in data representation. For example, if multiple systems exchange allergy information, they should use the same allergy profile to ensure data compatibility. Standard compliance. Verify that the selected profiles comply with relevant FHIR standards and versioning specification. Staying up to date with FHIR standard is essential for long-term interoperability. Determine the FHIR resources. FHIR resources represent specific type of data such as patient encounter, observation, medication, and many other. The choice of FHIR resources depends on your use case and type of clinical data you need to exchange. There are different type of FHIR resources. Patient resources. The patient resources contain demographic and administrative information about a patient, including name, gender, birth date, and contact details. It is a fundamental resource for most healthcare scenarios. Observation resource. The observation resource is used to represent clinical observation, measurements, and test results. It can include vital sign, lab results, and clinical assessment. Medication resource. The medication resource covers medications, including details like medication name, dose, route of administration, and prescribing information. Condition resource. Condition resources are used to describe a patient's health condition, such as diagnosis, allergies, and problems. Procedure resource. Procedure resource represent medical procedures, surgeries, and interventions performed on a patient. Encounter resources. The encounter resources, they capture information about patient encounters with healthcare provider, including details about the location, date, and patients. Image study resources. This resource is used to convey information about medical imaging studies such as X-rays, MRIs, and CT scans. And finally, document reference resources. If your use case involves exchanging clinical documents such as discharge summaries or radiology reports, the document reference resource is important. Once we identify which use case we want to implement, we understand our current status of readiness for FHIR implementation. It's key to perform the use case alignment. Select profiles, specifically FHIR profiles and resources that align with the specific requirement for your use case. Each use case may require a different set of resources. For example, a telemedicine use case, you may prioritize the patient observation, medication, and encounter resource to provide comprehensive patient data using virtual visit. For research collaboration, you may need resources like conditions, procedures, and document references to support data sharing for clinical trials and studies. Care coordination may require the use of encounter, condition, and medication resources to ensure that healthcare providers have access to relevant patient information when coordinating care. FHIR conformance statements. When selecting FHIR profiles and resources, consider conformance statement. Conformance statements specify how systems are expected to use FHIR resources. These are valuable for ensuring that your FHIR implementation adheres to FHIR standards and supports interoperability. The next step is defining the interoperability testing strategy. Before finalizing your selection, conduct interoperability testing to verify that chosen profile and resources can effectively exchange data with other FHIR compliant systems. Testing helps identify any issues related to data mapping, validation, and compatibility. In summary, selecting the right FHIR profile and resources is a pivotal step in building a robust clinical data exchange solution. It ensures that the data you exchange is structured consistently, aligns with your use case, and complies with FHIR standards. Thoughtful selection of profiles and resources contribute to the success of your FHIR implementation, supporting improved healthcare interoperability and data exchange. That's it for today's video. There is a lot to cover in the strategy for clinical data exchange. I will come back with the next set of video to continue the discussion. Until then, you all have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.